Alexander the Great had conquered the largest empire the ancient world had ever seen. From Greece to Egypt and deep into Asia, no king had achieved what he had. But in the summer of 323 BC, at the age of just 32, Alexander suddenly died. There was no battle, no assassination witnessed by guards, no clear explanation. More than 2,000 years later, historians are still asking the same question. What really killed Alexander the Great? At the peak of his power, Alexander ruled over a vast empire stretching across 3 continents. His armies were undefeated. His generals were loyal. His future seemed limitless. But after arriving in Babylon, strange events began to unfold. Within days, the world's greatest conqueror would be fighting for his life. According to ancient accounts, Alexander attended a banquet in Babylon. After a night of drinking and celebration, he began to feel unwell. At first, no one seemed concerned. But the fever grew worse with each passing day. Soon, the conqueror who had defeated entire kingdoms could no longer stand on his own. As his condition deteriorated, panic spread through the palace. His generals gathered around him, hoping for signs of recovery. Yet Alexander's strength continued to fade. Some sources claim he lost the ability to speak. Others say he remained conscious until the very end. On the 10th day of his illness, Alexander was unable to leave his bed. The soldiers who had followed him across deserts, mountains, and battlefields gathered outside the palace. They could hardly believe that the man who seemed invincible was slowly dying before their eyes. Ancient historians recorded that Alexander's generals entered his chamber one final time. Unable to speak clearly, the king reportedly communicated with gestures. When asked who should inherit his empire, one account claims he whispered 2 mysterious words, "To the strongest." Shortly after, Alexander the Great died in Babylon. He was only 32 years old. The ruler who had conquered much of the known world left behind no clear successor, creating a power vacuum that would plunge his empire into chaos. Almost immediately, rumors began to spread. Some believed Alexander had been poisoned. According to this theory, political enemies feared his growing power and secretly added poison to his wine during the banquet. Over the centuries, this explanation became one of the most famous theories surrounding his death. However, many modern historians remain skeptical of the poison theory. The symptoms described by ancient sources developed slowly over many days. Most poisons known at the time would have acted far more quickly. This has led many researchers to consider a different explanation. Another possibility is that Alexander died from disease. Historians and medical experts have proposed several candidates, including malaria, typhoid fever, pneumonia, and other infections common in the ancient world. The exact cause remains impossible to prove. Yet one of the strangest mysteries emerged after his death. Ancient accounts suggest that Alexander's body showed surprisingly little sign of decay for several days. To some, this was evidence that he was blessed by the gods. To others, it only deepened the mystery. More than 2,000 years later, the death of Alexander the Great remains unsolved. Was he poisoned by enemies? Did disease bring down the world's greatest conqueror? Or is the truth lost forever in the shadows of history? Whatever the answer, Alexander's legend continues to endure, making him one of the most fascinating figures the world has ever known. Following Alexander's death, his empire began to fracture almost immediately. His generals, later known as the Diadochi, fought bitter wars to claim pieces of the vast territory he had conquered. Within a few decades, the empire that Alexander built had been divided into rival kingdoms. Despite the collapse of his empire, Alexander's influence did not disappear. Greek culture spread across Egypt, Persia, and beyond. Cities he founded continued to thrive, and his military tactics would be studied for centuries by kings, emperors, and generals around the world. Even today, historians continue to debate the events of his final days. Ancient sources often contradict one another, and no modern investigation can provide definitive answers. Every new theory only adds another layer to the mystery. Alexander achieved in 13 years what many rulers could not achieve in a lifetime. He conquered nations, reshaped civilizations, and created a legend that still captivates the world. Yet in the end, The greatest mystery of his life was not how he lived, but how he died. What do you think happened to Alexander the Great? Was it poison, disease, or something else entirely? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe to Empire Archives for more stories from the ancient world.